Level 1. The Street Associate. You stand in the suffocating neon glare of a crowded night market. You are 19, holding a heavy wooden bat concealed inside a rolled newspaper. You are an uninitiated associate, desperately eager to prove your loyalty to an ancient criminal brotherhood. Your first assignment is brutally simple. A local electronics vendor missed his weekly protection payment. You do not negotiate. You walk up to his brightly lit stall and shatter the glass display cases without saying a single word. When he tries to intervene, you strike him across the ribs, leaving him gasping on the cold, wet pavement. You feel a massive surge of adrenaline, mixed with a sickening drop in your stomach. You walk away calmly, disappearing into the dense sea of frightened pedestrians. The syndicate pays you a pathetic handful of crumpled cash for your violent actions, but the money is completely irrelevant. You are buying reputation. You are trading your innocence for a glimpse of power in a sprawling city that completely ignores the weak and vulnerable. You wait anxiously for the phone call that will invite you to the secret altar. You are standing on the dark precipice of a lifelong blood oath. Level 2. The Enforcer. You survive the brutal initiation ceremony. You kneel before a shrine in a windowless basement, drinking a mixture of wine and your own blood from a ceramic bowl. You swear 36 ancient oaths of absolute secrecy and unwavering loyalty. You are now an official soldier. You discard the wooden bat for a concealed, incredibly sharp tactical blade. You are the blunt instrument of the syndicate, dispatched to collect massive gambling debts from desperate businessmen who borrowed money they could never repay. You visit a frantic restaurant owner who owes the organization a staggering sum. You do not break his windows. You sit at his finest table, order an expensive meal, and calmly explain exactly which bones you will shatter if the payment is not ready by midnight. You project an aura of absolute, terrifying calm that is infinitely more intimidating than mindless rage. You realize that true power is not about inflicting pain, but the credible, inevitable promise of extreme violence. You collect the thick envelope of cash, hand it to your superior, and walk back out into the freezing neon rain. You are bound by blood forever, an absolute slave to the syndicate. Level 3. The Red Pole. Your ruthless efficiency elevates you above the street brawlers. You are promoted to a highly respected combat leader. You no longer collect individual debts. You command a highly disciplined crew of 24 hardened enforcers. Your lucrative territory encompasses an entire bustling entertainment district, filled with highly profitable illicit massage parlors and underground casinos. A rival syndicate foolishly attempts to expand into your carefully managed sector. You do not tolerate a single ounce of disrespect. You orchestrate a massive, meticulously coordinated show of overwhelming force. You send your best men to simultaneously destroy 3 of their illicit gambling dens in a single night. You do not use firearms, which attract unwanted federal police attention. You use coordinated, silent intimidation. You force the rival gang leader to a sit-down meeting in a neutral tea house. You stare directly into his eyes and politely offer him a choice between immediate territorial withdrawal or total eradication. You speak softly, pouring him a cup of jasmine tea while your armed men block every single exit. He aggressively concedes the territory. You have mastered the delicate, incredibly dangerous art of organized tactical aggression and psychological warfare. Level 4, the Frontman. The syndicate recognizes that raw street violence is ultimately bad for long-term business. You are instructed to clean up your public image entirely. You trade your leather jacket for a meticulously tailored designer suit. You are appointed as the general manager of a massive, incredibly popular luxury nightclub located in the heart of the financial district. On paper, you are a completely legitimate, highly successful entrepreneur. In reality, you operate a sophisticated, high-volume cash laundering machine. You take the dirty, blood-soaked money collected from street-level extortion and integrate it seamlessly into the club's nightly bar receipts. You declare massive, completely fabricated liquor sales to the tax authorities, transforming illicit criminal proceeds into clean, taxable corporate income. You smile warmly and shake hands with corrupt local politicians and off-duty police captains who drink expensive champagne in your heavily guarded VIP lounges. They know exactly who you are, but the illusion of legitimacy allows everyone to comfortably look the other way. You learn that a pristine balance sheet provides infinitely more protection than a loaded weapon. You are bridging the massive gap between the violent criminal underworld and elite high society. Level 5. The Smuggling Coordinator. Your talent for managing complex logistical operations catches the attention of the absolute upper echelon. You are transferred away from the glittering nightlife to the gritty, unforgiving industrial shipping ports. You are tasked with coordinating the massive transnational flow of highly lucrative contraband. You stand on the edge of a massive dock at 3 in the morning, watching towering cargo cranes unload shipping containers arriving from across the ocean. You hold a heavily encrypted satellite phone. You manage incredibly complex networks of corrupt customs inspectors, dock workers, and heavy machinery operators. You pay astronomical, untraceable cash bribes to ensure specific containers filled with counterfeit luxury goods, untaxed narcotics, and highly illegal synthetic precursors bypass the standard security scanners entirely. The operational stress is absolutely suffocating. A single misplaced document or a surprisingly honest Port Authority agent could result in the massive seizure of millions of dollars in syndicate assets and trigger a vicious internal purge. You operate in a state of permanent, exhausting hypervigilance. You watch the transport trucks roll out of the massive port gates, completely undetected by the sleeping city. You are the vital pumping artery of global criminal commerce. Level 6. The White Paper Fan. You realize that physically touching the contraband is an unnecessary risk meant only for lower-level operators. You pivot your career entirely towards the abstract realm of high finance. You become the principal advisor and chief accountant for the syndicate. You are a brilliant, completely sociopathic financial architect. You sit in a sterile, heavily secured office, completely insulated from the physical violence of the streets. You manage an incredibly complex, globally distributed network of anonymous offshore shell companies and untraceable digital cryptocurrency wallets. When the enforcers generate $10 million in illicit gambling revenue, your sole responsibility is to make that dirty money disappear from the physical world entirely. You wire the illicit funds through a dizzying maze of corporate entities in 6 different sovereign nations, before quietly investing it into completely legitimate commercial real estate projects in London or Vancouver. You create an impenetrable, infinitely complex wall of legal paperwork that completely frustrates international financial investigators. You ensure the syndicate bosses can purchase luxury yachts and massive mansions without ever triggering a single government tax audit. You have successfully weaponized the massive global banking system to protect incredibly violent transnational criminal enterprises. Level 7, the Vanguard. The syndicate requires massive international expansion to survive. You are appointed as the Vanguard, the elite operational commander tasked with establishing completely new criminal footholds in highly competitive foreign territories. You board a first-class flight to a major Western metropolis. You carry a pristine diplomatic passport and absolutely no weapons. Your mission is to systematically conquer the local underworld without starting a highly visible, chaotic gang war. You identify the established, deeply entrenched local criminal organizations. You do not fight them in the streets. You systematically suffocate their supply lines and completely outspend their legal defenses. You use your massive, untraceable offshore wealth to aggressively bribe the local port authorities and essentially buy the loyalty of their most capable street commanders. You offer the local bosses a simple, terrifying proposition. They can either become highly paid, completely subservient subsidiaries of your transnational empire, or they will be quietly and efficiently eradicated. You operate with a cold, calculated ruthlessness that the local street gangs simply cannot comprehend. You successfully plant the syndicate flag on an entirely new continent, establishing a massive, incredibly profitable new revenue stream for the Shadow Empire back home. Level 8, the Incense Master. You are recalled to the ancestral homeland. You have aged and your hair is completely graying, but your internal power has grown exponentially. You are elevated to the incredibly revered position of the incense master. You are the supreme enforcer of the ancient triad codes and the absolute arbiter of internal syndicate justice. You do not manage daily illicit business operations or financial laundering schemes. You manage the dark soul of the organization. You preside over the deeply secretive, highly ritualistic initiation ceremonies for the next generation of violent recruits. You ensure the ancient traditions remain completely uncorrupted by modern corporate greed. When a high-ranking member breaks a sacred oath or attempts to steal from the collective treasury, you are the one who summons them to the dark, incense-filled temple. You do not order a quick, chaotic street execution. You conduct a formal, terrifying internal trial. You hand down the sentence with absolute, unflinching authority. You authorize the traditional, incredibly brutal physical punishments meant to send a chilling, unmistakable message to the entire global network. You are the terrifying, absolute guardian of the ancient blood oath, preserving the brutal legacy. Level 9, the Elder. You transition into a state of revered semi-retirement. You are an uncle, a highly respected elder statesman within the global organization. You no longer involve yourself in the granular, dangerous details of illicit smuggling routes or street-level extortion. You operate entirely in the blinding light of the legitimate corporate world. You are a recognized, highly influential billionaire philanthropist. You sit on the board of directors for massive charitable foundations and host lavish fundraising galas attended by powerful politicians and elite international business tycoons. You own sprawling commercial real estate portfolios, massive shipping conglomerates, and highly profitable legal casinos in international gambling hubs. But the dark shadow of your incredibly violent past remains your absolute strongest asset. When a massive, multi-billion-dollar legitimate corporate merger is suddenly stalled by a stubborn competitor, you make a single, incredibly polite phone call. The competitor inexplicably drops their fierce opposition the very next morning. You exercise massive, terrifying geopolitical influence without ever issuing a single direct threat. You have successfully merged the ruthless, blood-soaked tactics of the criminal underworld with the sterile, incredibly powerful mechanics of modern global capitalism. You are an untouchable ghost. Level 10. The Dragonhead. You reach the absolute, untouchable pinnacle of the transnational empire. You are the Mountain Master, the supreme Dragonhead. You sit in a magnificent, highly secured penthouse overlooking a glittering Asian metropolis. You command a completely invisible, incredibly lethal global army of tens of thousands of sworn members. You manipulate the economic stability of entire sovereign nations. You dictate the global price of illicit narcotics, orchestrate massive transnational human trafficking networks, and launder billions of dollars through a vast empire of completely legitimate, heavily regulated casinos. You have tea with influential heads of state who desperately need your vast capital investments to stimulate their struggling economies. You are completely insulated from the horrific consequences of your actions. If a massive smuggling operation is intercepted by international authorities, the low-level operatives will gladly spend the rest of their lives in a freezing prison cell without ever uttering your name, bound entirely by the terrifying ancient blood oaths you ruthlessly enforce. You look down at the bustling city below, completely aware that you are the absolute apex predator in a jungle of concrete and high finance. You are a king wearing a pristine bespoke suit, ruling an invisible empire.